What's going on, guys? I actually just recently tried to make a quick video on NNDM here, which I'm going to start out with today, and unfortunately my phone died, and it's really freaking annoying because the thing just completely deleted that video. So I already drew all this stuff in. I started with a blank chart in the first video. I'm not going to do that this time just because I'm only at 9%. So basically what I can see here is, originally when I made videos on NNDM, unfortunately I was very new to trading, and I was trying to decipher if I could buy this dip here, and it ended up turning into a lot of money that I lost here, and I'm sure a lot of people lost money on NNDM, and a lot of people hate it. But however, I'm starting to see some bullish price action here starting here. So being in these ranges, I don't really see us going below this these recent lows here of 531. Of course, we can always go lower, you can't say never, but basically what we can see here is that we created this big ascending wedge here, and we eventually broke to the upside, and we had a huge blow off top here, and we came back down, and recently we look like we've double bottomed here on this low support of 531, which was old previous resistance here. So basically if we zoom in here, we can see that we have we have this big descending wedge here formed with that low support of 531. And if we can actually manage to close above some key levels that I'm going to go over here, we could actually see a target that could, depending on when we break out here, we could actually see ourselves up back at least in the 1140 range here, with the target of 1289, which breaking above 1140 just is like a very clean area here. Now we've built a very strong base, it seems like, roughly between this 692 down to 538 to really chalk it up here. My key area that I'm watching here is 667. We can see here that basically when we fell here, we chopped around in the 608 range, and when we lost it, we completely fell through the floor. We came back up recently. We broke above that level, which shot us right to the same resistance roughly, which is this downward sloping resistance that we've gotten resistance on here, and now here. We got a small rejection here with some small bearish divergence here that looks like is already played out here on the 4-hour time frame. We're starting to get a small bounce here, and we're seeing some momentum indicators coming back in here on the lower time frame, so I'll get into it in a few. But 609 seems to be holding as support now, and we really continuously get rejected up here at this 650 level, so we want to watch that. But mainly we want to see ourselves breaking above the 650 and then ultimately holding a candle body above 667. You can see here on the daily we haven't been able to close a full couple daily candles above here. So if we can start doing that, that's going to really be a very good springboard for us to break out a lot higher. Now of course this downward sloping resistance here around $7 has been pretty painful, although I think that we could actually see ourselves getting back above those levels here if we can actually close above 670. So that's going to be the area that I'm watching here very closely. If we zoom down to the 4-hour here, you can see we're not really getting too much price action. We had a daily a 4-hour MACD cross here, but you can see on the smaller time frames that the MACD is actually starting to flip bullish here, especially on this 1-hour time frame here as we retested this 650 level. So you can see how harsh of a rejection we can get off of those levels. We don't want to see ourselves double topping or rounding over here, of course, anywhere in this 664, and then it's going to end up looking a lot worse if this was to eventually roll to the downside. We're just going to M out again. However, I have some pretty good high hopes for this, because if this does actually manage to stand true, if we look at some indicators here, looking at the Ichimoku cloud, we can see that on the 1-hour time frame we got a very strong bounce off of this cloud here, and we have not been able to do that throughout this whole hourly trend here. We can see how much resistance we got from the cloud the whole entire way down since we've been getting all of this action. So this is very cool that we're seeing, not only did we see this break from this resistance of 611 here that we got a massive bounce off of, but we also now just rolled over here and retested it. This retest right here is insanely bullish in my opinion. This is just my opinion of what I'm seeing. Of course, it can always fail through, but this indicator will show the strength. And this area right here of getting this bounce here around this 620 is huge. And this is only on an hourly based time frame. So if we look at the 4-hourly, we can obviously see we still have a lot of resistance that we have to deal with here on the way up. But I mean, that's not until we get up into this 730 range. So depending on if we actually do have the market agreeing here, we could see a pretty fast shot up into this 730 range here, and then we're going to have to reevaluate and see what happens, whether we have to come all the way back down and test it again and shake some more hands out here. But I'm seeing a small bounce here on the 4-hour time frame setting up. We could almost make the case, it's not beautiful, but we could almost make a case that this is going to maybe turn out to some inverse head and shoulders right here. Just speculation right now. Obviously, we still have some bearish signs. We had this bearish divergence right here. We're making higher highs in the RSI, lower highs in the price action. So, that's something to keep an eye on. But we didn't really fall very hard considering that, which is a good sign, because usually when you're very bearish, your bearish indicators are going to show and work out a lot stronger versus your bullish indicators, where if you get a bullish divergence and it doesn't play out properly, it's because you're very bearish. And same with the opposite, if this isn't making any sense. If you have a bearish divergence and it doesn't really play out that well, that's usually showing that the bulls are starting to come back and get strong. Obviously, we're getting a lot of buying though, and it's just rolling over. So we need to get above this resistance here. But it's starting to look pretty decent. I mean, on the daily here, we still have cloud resistance up at the $7 range, so somewhere between 7 and 730. I mean, we've definitely done this in the past where we just came up here, hit the $7 range, and then just completely shot over. And that has happened here. It's happened in a few of these peaks, so we do have to be cautious when it gets to that position. But being that we're coming to the end of this apex here, this could be something forming. I mean, I could be a little bit early, and this could still just chop around in here for a little bit. This descending triangle could end up being a nothing, and then we end up getting a rip later on here down in mid-November. I'm not sure how it's going to play out. Time is always the hardest thing to judge, but it's something that I'm really, really watching. Let's look at the weekly here and see what we're doing on the weekly, just to get a little stronger view here of what's going on. So basically, in the weekly time frame, we were inside all this red bearish cloud here, and prior to that on the weekly, I mean, really it's just been looking like I don't know if this thing had a reverse split or what happened. Oh yeah, so I can't really base it off of this because I don't know what all this rounding action was to happen, but maybe that was TradingView showing me something else, so I would just disregard all of that. But either way, we had all this beautiful rounding here that came up. We got perfect resistance, which I never actually noticed before until now. Look at how clear this resistance was up really close to the damn top here on the weekly time frame here. So what are we doing now? We're just kind of potentially making a double bottom, pretty clear on the weekly. We're going to have to see how this plays out here. But that would show that if we were to continue this trend here to the upside, we look like this 920 range, which has come in as critical resistance, could actually come as another bearish factor here if we do get a pop to this $9 region. We're going to have to be very, very cautious up in this range. However, if we were to break any of this support here, man, oh man, is that going to fly. But I can't really expect that that's going to happen. But of course, you can see here, this cloud support resistance is up to about 1061, and then the resistance there 910. And we do have a weekly MACD cross that's actually rolling up a little bit here, which is pretty good to see, but that's just something that would take a long time to play out. So I think we might be onto something here. It's something I'm really going to be watching here over the next few weeks, and I am going to slowly start positioning myself here, although I could be jumping the gun, and it's not really safe obviously to trade in any of these patterns, especially something that is constantly getting rejected and falling lower. However, we have found a pretty good floor here at 531. And I am really liking this, so I'm going to be watching these two levels that I just talked about, 650 and 667, and then mainly the 703. And then you can see at this 840 as well on the daily, depending on when we get there, if we get there at all. That's going to be a level that we're going to have to watch as well. So right between this 920 and this 840, and this thing is known to potentially shoot up pretty fast and then wick out and then completely fall on its face, which is very possible that it could still happen again. And even if it did and we still managed to maintain some support, it could end up looking something even better. But I can't speculate on. I don't want to try to call what the price action is going to do here. I'm just going strictly based off of some indicators. And then before my phone dies on us here, I'm going to just take a look at the EMA ribbon here. This is on a 3-hour. We flipped negative here. We squeezed from green to red, And now looking at it now, we're squeezing and we're actually starting to flip green. And looking at the 3 hour, we actually just got perfect resistance here at this this green ribbon. So we need to get above the 650 level on the 3 hour time frame. Let's take a look if anything flipped over yet on the yeah, so the daily still has a ways to go before it's going to flip green at all, so it could take some time. 4 hour actually is kind of showing mixed signals here because we went from green to red, which kind of looks a little weird to me that we flipped from red to green here, which we had a pump, and then we ended up just losing that support, which, this resistance shows right around that $7 range too. So, I'm not sure how that's going to work out. It's hard to know exactly if that's just going to be a short-term red and then flip green. I don't know. But I am seeing some smaller time frames starting to flip bullish here. And look at this ribbon here. We actually just popped above this ribbon, which we've done before. That's at 635. So we want to see ourselves continuously holding this ribbon here, and it goes as low as 621. On the hourly here, we already flipped green here as we got this nice pump. We came back down. We pretty much back tested it, which is pretty good. Let's see if on the smaller time frames, the green ribbon is actually getting pretty wide here, so that's pretty good. I mean, we're going all the way down to low time frames where this could be flipping bearish here on the 30-minute, which could see ourselves getting rejected again, right up in this range that we always like to reject at. So we'll really have to keep an eye on the 623 to 635 range. It's still, I could be a little bit early here in this trade, but in this idea here, but I am going to be looking at it. So I want to keep you guys in the loop. I got to let you go so this video doesn't die on me again. Peace.